Hello and welcome back to the Acca Backer here on the Racing Post. The aim of this series is to put together a winning football accumulator for you all watching. To do exactly that is my Racing Post colleague Mark Langdon and football expert Sandro Di Michele. Sandro, first time on the show. We haven't found a winner in the previous two episodes. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure at all. I'm assuming the person that was sat in this seat last week didn't deliver well enough and they've been hooked out. So I can last more than a week.
Brought off the bench. Mark, you found a few winners last week. The wild card came in, high on confidence.
Yeah, I mean, it was the red cards that did me in the Acca Backer crew getting a player sent off, but it also helped, of course, at the Stoke game where Bristol City just made things even more miserable for the Potters.
Indeed. Let's get into the first tip then, Mark. What are we going for?
Well, it's actually quite a miserable bunch at the moment. I'm going for Arsenal to lift themselves and to get maximum points against Aston Villa. Look, we've learnt nothing new about Arsenal this season. We know they struggle against the best teams. We know they struggle away from home. What we also know is that they're good at putting away bad opponents, and they've already done that against Burnley. They won 8 of their 10 games against bottom half teams last season. One of the 2 they didn't win was against Crystal Palace when Unai Emery picked a joke of a team. The other one was against Brighton when the pressure got to them. They're not occasions when I like to back Arsenal, sort of mid-September at home to, I think, a Villa team that, you know, if they finish 16th, they'll do well really this season. I think that's their aim, just to stay up. Aubameyang and Pepe can score the goals. I think it'll be quite a comfortable afternoon, and the fact that they've conceded the most shots in Europe is obviously a problem in bigger games. At home to Aston Villa, against a team that didn't score against West Ham on Monday, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Sandro, a bad team? Is that harsh on Aston Villa?
I don't think they're a bad team, but when you look at the 3 promoted teams, you feel like Villa maybe have moved away from their principles that got them up a little bit more than the likes of Sheffield United and Norwich. Yeah, they're not a bad team, but they do appear to be struggling to score goals. The only thing that would slightly worry me about Arsenal, let's just hope they take a few less short goal kicks, should we say? Because your heart could be in your mouth a few times. But yeah, you'd have to agree with Mark there. I think Villa they're struggling a little bit in the division at the moment, aren't they? And Monday night was testament to that as well.
Arsenal, the first team in the Acca Backer. Sandro, what's your first tip, mate?
I'm going to the Medeski Stadium, and
nice place to go.
Yeah, and I really fancy Reading at home to Blackburn. When you start looking at the data and expected goals in the division, Reading's second best team in the division on expected goals, and they had an unbelievable summer. You know, for a team that were favourites for relegation, I don't know what happened in the summer down there at Reading, but it was very good. And they signed the lad Puskas, who had a great tournament, the under-21 tournament, and they also signed Lucas João. And interestingly, I think they went and spent £7.5 million on one player. Some club, you know, Wigan spent £7.5 million on 4 players, and I think that could be the difference. So that combined, defensively, they're not the best. They're about 14th in the division when it comes to like expected goals conceded, but also in Puskas, they've got the second best striker in the division. If you look at his expected goals, the chances he creates. Blackburn struggling a little bit, to be honest, at both ends of the pitch, and at 6-4 around that mark, I really fancy Reading.
Blackburn always seem a good team at home, Mark, but when they go away from home, it's a bit of a struggle for them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tony Mowbray prefers he tries not to nullify the opposition. He's all about, you know, what we can do, and I think that maybe that means that when they go away from home, you know, it leaves themselves more vulnerable. I mean, they had a game against West Brom the other week, didn't they, where it was, you know, just basketball 3-2. I like Reading, the fact they got Puskas and Pele. And that's not bad going. And I mean, last week he decided not to play Puskas because he'd been away on international duty. So you know, hopefully they'll be strengthened now.
Arsenal and Reading halfway through our fourfold Acca Backer. Mark, what's your second tip?
Yeah, I think that Leeds are not only the best team in the Championship. I think they're the best team in the Championship by an absolute mile.
Really?
And the prices they're going off suggest that they are, and I think that they'll be way too good, you know, for Derby at Ellen Road. Now, the question mark you have against Leeds is, can they finish off all the excellent sort of midfield and approach play? And I think from that point of view, Bamford doesn't always do it, but now you've got Nketiah that can come on and do it, just like he did against Barnsley away from home last week. They had 19 shots inside the box. Wow. That, you know, that is some going. That sort of Manchester City levels of dominance, although not against Norwich, of course. But I mean, they are, like I say, Leeds are just a class apart. They don't concede many chances, never mind goals. And the only time really they've dropped points this season, it's been sucker punches. They haven't really done that much wrong against Nottingham Forest, against Swansea. They were games that they dominated, would ordinarily have won. Occasionally it happens. And from Derby's point of view, pressure's growing on Philip Cocu. I think, though, he's just walked into a nightmare of a job. I mean, this is a team that had lost Tomori, Harry Wilson and Mason Mount. Mason Mount's played for England. Tomori's smashing him in from 35 yards in the Premier League. And Harry Wilson's got a couple of goals. So it's not necessarily a change in manager from Lampard to Cocu. It's just the quality of player, those lone players that they've lost.
Sandra, I think the rest of Leeds' season is going to be fascinating, isn't it? They started like a train last season and then tailed off. Do you think they've got enough this year to sustain their good start?
I've got to be careful what I say because I live in Leeds. So
of course they're going up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's hope my neighbours are watching this. Look, they are head and shoulders above everybody. They were the best team in the division last year. For whatever reason, it didn't quite pan out. They're undoubtedly the best team in the division. They're already about 4 goals ahead of any other team based on the chances they've created this season. And you do feel the experience of last season, as disappointing as it was, holds them in a much better position. And like Mark touched on, they've brought in the likes of Eddie Nketiah. They've added quality and a slightly different option up front as well. So Ellen Road will be absolutely rocking as well. If there's one club they want to do a number on this season, they do. And fully back Mark there. Leeds took a good thing.
Will Leeds get promoted this season from the Championship? Please do let us know in the comments. Sandro, your second pick for the fourfold accumulator?
Yeah, in the Championship again, we're going to St Andrews, but it's the visitors. I fancy Preston away at Birmingham. There's a bit of a theme with a lot of my stats here. All of these teams seem to be the second best, or these individuals seem to be the second best. And in Preston, they have the second best defence in the division based on the chances that they're giving up or not giving up, as the case may be. And then you look at Birmingham City; they have the worst attack in the division. They don't create chances. There were slight signs of being a little bit better last week, but they just don't really create chances. You then start to look at Preston going forward, and in Daniel Johnson, he scored 4 goals this season, albeit 3 of them penalties, but getting those penalties, winning those penalties for them has been Sean Maguire. And a really interesting stat is the expected goals generated, so it gives a value on the free kicks and penalties that a player wins as well. Sean Maguire, second best in the division for that. So you combine all of that, the fact that Birmingham don't score goals and Preston do score goals, you would think that Preston at the very least would have a clean sheet away from home. That gives you a good start to go and build on it. And around the 8-5 mark, 6-4, I really fancy Preston.
You would certainly think that, Mark, but Birmingham, although they don't score goals, they're still picking up a few wins, aren't they?
They are. But if you have a look into the stats, as we were just saying, they're 23rd in shots, they're 23rd in possession. If you haven't got the ball when you're not taking shots over a season, we're not talking about over a month, over a season, generally, you expect teams to regress, and I think it's unsustainable. Unless they start improving performances, their results are unsustainable, that's for sure. Yeah, I like Preston as well.
Brilliant. That fourfold is about 12-1. Let us know if you back it down in the comments section below. Mark, your wild card landed this week. You're back for another corker again.
Yeah, going for a slightly bigger price. It was about 11-2 last week when Bristol City won against Stoke with over 2.5. Yeah, going for an 8-1 shot this time around. It's Borussia Dortmund to win from behind against Eintracht Frankfurt on Sunday in the Bundesliga. Dortmund have already done this twice this season. They've conceded the first goal actually in 3 games. They didn't manage to come back against Union Berlin, but it's a difficult enough away game. And Frankfurt play against Arsenal on Thursday. So the hope is here that Dortmund, it's a tough place to go. Eintracht Frankfurt get knackered because of the Europa League on Thursday, and then Dortmund's class begins to show in the second half, the likes of Royce and Sancho. I expect them to win the game, but it might not be easy.
I love that. A lot of thought behind that. Sandro, what about yours, mate?
I feel a bit of a fraud now because this is only a fraction of the price of Mark's.
You're not going for Dortmund.
No.
That would be the fraud.
No. Look, I'm down in League 2, and I really fancy Crawley away at Northampton around the 11-4 mark. You've guessed it, Crawley second best in attack in League 2 this season. Yeah, but look, they really have been a surprise package. Scrapping around the bottom end of League 2 as they seem to do most years. They've gone and got Bez Labala, who the Gabriel Cioffi, the coach he'd worked with at Birmingham City, and he proves to be incredible. There's 6 goals already this season, second best in the division for expected goals when it comes to strikers, but also Ollie Palmer's chipped in with 4 goals as well this season. In that, they've got 2 strikers in the top 8 in the division already. And you look at Northampton, I think they're ranked 18th for goals for and against when you're looking at the shot data. They got a smash and grab at Stevenage on Tuesday night. Now, if you're going to Stevenage and having to get a smash and grab, there were a few things going wrong for you there. And I just feel that the market hasn't quite latched on to how good Crawley actually are, because they're not a particularly fashionable team, but they're defying the stats, to be honest. The stats are saying they're a very, very strong team. Maybe the market isn't giving them the respect they deserve.
Mark, I'm seeing a lot of nodding in there. Fan of Crawley?
I am, yeah. I mean, the difference between last season's Crawley and this season's, just in terms of the numbers, is quite bizarre, really. I didn't expect it. No idea where it's come from, but it's certainly coming. And they're even when they're not winning games, they're certainly in them. I mean, they absolutely battered Salford earlier on in the season in terms of the shots. So a bit like the Birmingham one I was talking about, to score goals you need to shoot. So I'm always looking at the teams that are ahead of the shot data.
Brilliant. They beat Norwich, of course, earlier in the season too. If you want both of them wild cards, that's about 30-1. All 6 together, you're looking at about 340-1. Thank you to Sandro. Thank you to Mark. Hopefully we've found you some winners in there. That is the Acca Backer Week 3. Please do subscribe to the Racing Post, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.